Division of Academic Services comprises many types of resources which are available to the university and to the surrounding region. A unique academic service which the division provides is the collection and preservation of articles from our past. These pieces of our past are used for research and instruction as well as public exhibition, and their home is the Kentucky Museum. The Kentucky Museum is part of the Kentucky Building, which also holds the Kentucky Library. Former Western President Dr. Henry Hardin Cherry had the idea in the early 1920s, but economic conditions and building construction delayed the dedication until November of 1939. Since that time, of course, the collections of the building have grown continuously as the result of the dedication of staff, faculty members, alumni, students, and friends of Western. This museum is not the community attic. It's a well-used educational resource. It's not composed of things, it's composed of people. People who have found artifacts, people who have made them, and the dedicated people who preserve them. One of these people is Bruce MacLeish, Curator of Collections at the Kentucky Museum. Bruce, to a lot of people, preserving artifacts means just putting them under glass and remembering where they are. But to a specialist, there's much more to the science of preservation. Could you tell us something about what's involved in the preservation of a new artifact?
Just about all materials deteriorate with age, and what used to be normal handling for an object is really much too destructive from a preservation standpoint. We have to be concerned with heat, light, humidity, and a lot of other conditions that can cause damage to an object over a long period of time. Here in the museum lab, we're currently working with a couple of artifacts, cleaning and so on. This gun lock, for example, was so dirty originally that we couldn't tell anything about it. And by careful cleaning under the microscope, we were able to discover that it was made in the Springfield Arsenal in 1838. We're also working on a rifle, which actually looks in pretty good condition, but is covered with a lot of old varnish and so on, which disguise its original appearance. So we're going to clean the entire thing piece by piece, which will take about a week, then put a selection of coatings on it to protect it after that, but it will be restored to its original appearance once again.
But these artifacts don't sit in the workshop hidden from the sight and hands of those that want to see them. The museum is open to the public, and exhibitions are constantly being constructed and designed. Bruce, how does the Kentucky Museum go about showing its collection?
Here in the museum workshop, we build cases, cabinets, frames, and other exhibit furnishings. When we put together the exhibit itself, we have to take as much care as possible to avoid undoing all the care that's taken of the objects before they go on public view. Also, in constructing the exhibit, we have to take note of color schemes, lighting, traffic patterns, and a lot of other things which make the exhibit work and tell a story when the public starts coming through. Our Common Man exhibit upstairs is a good example of what I'm talking about.
All of this careful preservation and exhibition would be in vain if the museum staff didn't know something about the content and origin of these objects. Ann R. Johnston is the cataloger of collections at the Kentucky Museum. Ann, how are the objects held by the museum staff identified?
Well, we try to identify the objects in this museum the same way you'd identify yourself, your vital statistics, a bit of your history, so that we can relate you or the object to the other objects that we have or to the culture. This may seem like a simple or mechanical process, but in fact it's often quite complicated. However, For instance, we had a pair of 19th century portraits whom we had no idea of whom the subject was, but we were able to find through a little bit of information in our records who the subjects were, and also some information about other objects in the museum by checking out the will through which the objects came into the museum. That was a very simple and satisfying experience, but there are other objects in the museum that we've been researching in libraries and museums all over the East and Midwest for many months, and we still have no information or no accurate, sure information as to their vital statistics and history. However, what information we do have, we're trying to hook into the university computer retrieval system so that our resources are just as available as library resources to the university and the community.
Perhaps in this program we've overemphasized the past, but a museum exists only because it's always thinking of the future. Learning about our heritage is a process which never ends, and the things we take for granted today will be rare antiques in a very short time. Looking forward, we can expect the Kentucky Museum to grow and expand, ever increasing its holdings, ever enlarging our knowledge, ever illuminating our lives. Come visit the Kentucky Museum, and you'll discover that for yourself.